Hi, Roy here. I thought I'd pop in to help announce Garbaugust, the fantastic reading event where we celebrate and enjoy trashy books for the month of August. So this circus was invented by Criminoli. Criminoli is our leader still, and there's a whole barmy army of co-hosts who I will list down below, and I'm one of them, so it's one of the most fun things of the year. So this year's theme, don't panic, read trash. The idea being that maybe there are things in the world that aren't ideal. Let's do some escapism. Let's soothe our minds with some purely entertaining literature that is good. Don't think it's about reading bad books that we're not going to enjoy. It's about reading entertaining literature that we are going to enjoy, but which maybe hasn't got any kind of literary aspirations. In previous years, I've tried to explain this in various ways, even with diagrams, but really can't improve on what Ollie says. So I would direct you to Ollie's announcement video that I will link to, where he explains it all beautifully. And he says, you know, it's said with love. This isn't about being pejorative about the books or doing them down. It's about saying how much we enjoy them as those kind of straightforward reads. If you want to think it's about bad books, go right ahead. I'm through with trying to address that one. I suppose the definition is about things we're going to enjoy reading that are perhaps more at the lurid and sensational end of the spectrum. Books that are so solidly in a genre, or usually subgenre, that it's pretty obvious what they're going to deliver to you, and that's fine. It's going to be the kind of satisfactions that are promised on the cover. That's what you're going to get. It's also about books that are not there purely on their own merits. They're about some kind of trend or a celebrity, or they're tying in with other media like movies, that kind of thing. You know what I mean. So, as in previous years, participation is super easy. It's about reading some kind of trashy book. That's it. If you like prompts, there are prompts. The prompts have been streamlined and simplified, which is great. So 4 weeks. Week 1, the long week, anything goes. Week 2, 11th to the 17th of August, shock value. Books that are trying to hook you in with some kind of sensational violence or sexual content or whatever. Then you got your cosy trash, perhaps category romances, perhaps things with cats, that kind of stuff. And then the final week, and this one I suppose kind of comes at the thematic idea of the don't panic, apocalyptic trash. Books where some kind of doom being visited on humanity and society is the sort of background. So I'll mention a sort of a skeleton TBR. So I'm sure I'll fill in a few more, but just at this moment, this is what I've got for those weeks, just to get us started. So for the Anything Goes week, I'll be going back to the 19th century to read some stories by the woman who wrote this in a letter. I intend to illuminate the Ledger. That was a newspaper that published stories. I intend to illuminate the Ledger with a blood and thunder tale, as they are easy to compose and are better paid than moral and elaborate works of Shakespeare, so don't be shocked if I send you a paper containing a picture of Indians, pirates, wolves, bears and distressed damsels in a grand tableau over a title like this, The Maniac Bride, or The Bath of Blood, a thrilling tale of passion. So here's a writer who whilst being a author of classics, did write that kind of thing as well, and that's a pretty good definition, I suppose, of the trashy tale, which she enjoyed writing, which she got well paid for, and which people enjoyed reading. But she wouldn't put her name to them while she was alive. For shock value, well, barbed wire novelisation with a stock control ticket. Barbed wire novelisation seems to be trying to press some buttons both in the sex and violence area. It's a novelisation. I've never seen the movie. I'm interested to see, despite the movie having a terrible reputation, how enjoyable the book might actually be. So, barbed wire. Also, again, going back in time, the Shilling Shockers. So here we have some gruesome literature from the early days collected by the fabulous Peter Haining. Stories of terror from the Gothic Blue Books with titles like The Vindictive Monk or The Fatal Ring, The Spectre Mother or The Haunted Tower, The Old Tower of Frankenstein, The Lunatic and His Turkey, The Severed Arm, or The Werewolf of Limousine. So, yeah, some good stuff in there. Cosy-wise, well, I do want to read this Mills and Boon romance that Ollie very kindly sent me. Hometown Hospital. Love the fact that the cover art is depicted with a background of graph paper, and I could now and again like to pick up a Mills and Boon. This looks like a good one. And then for that apocalyptic week, Doomsday 1999, because I like my apocalypses comfortably in the past, where they can't come true and can't hurt anybody. So this was an old paperback that's been reprinted as a facsimile, and it's the facsimile I've got, so that looks good as well. Doomsday 1999. There's a read-along too. In fact, there's a choice of 2 read-along books. So this is where there's a book that, like, everybody, all participants is, you know, encouraged to read. We're all reading it together. Those of us who make comments on videos or who are maybe on somebody's Discord, particularly on Criminalese, we can talk about it there as well if we want to, or just sit back and wait to see what people who read them think about them if they make videos. So one is Rivals, Riders, Valders, one of the Jilly Coopers. Rivals, the one that was made into a TV miniseries recently. Don't fancy that really. Myself, it's quite big, it would sort of overbalance the whole month, but it's there, you know, that looks good. The other one, Zoo by James Patterson with Michael Ledwidge, which is a sort of post-apocalyptic. I think it's animals, like all of them, turn on humanity. Something very bad, it says. Something very bad, James Patterson. So this will probably be a quick read, and looking forward to that. This was a TV series as well, I understand. Doesn't stop there. There's a massive bingo card as well. I'm going to be looking down here to read some of them. I can tell you I'm not going to try and do them all, but some people will. I hope to do a few, maybe I'll get a line or something. So 1 or 2 some of them would be, if you do the weeks or the read-along, you'll have done some of these. So if you read Rivals, you've read a Bonkbuster, for instance. Topical trash. Okay, yeah, that could be interesting. Modern trash, vintage trash. Well, obviously I'll have some of that. Vintage is pre-2000. That incredibly recent year. Anyway, local trash is an interesting one that I might have a go at. There's also, let's see, celebrity memoirs, killer animals. Well, we'll be doing killer animals. Non-killer animals, always good fun. Author smoking or drinking, and I think the idea is their jacket photo shows them having a fag or a drink or both. Although, to be honest, that seems to bring in all sorts of literary characters. I think all of these could be prefaced with a trashy book that is this thing as well. So you don't doesn't mean we're saying, Albert Camus is his books or are considered trashy because he likes a smoke. It's just a thing. Novelisation tie-in, you wouldn't read it on the bus, is still there. The sequel nobody wanted, the sequel no one asked for. Yes, I've got an idea for that as well. So, massive load of, what are they called? Prompts? No, bingo cards things. Yes, so lots of fun to be had there. But, it's not meant to be a white knuckle challenge. It's meant to be about kick back, read something enjoyable, that doesn't have to be good in the kind of it informs your soul kind of way. Let me tell you a story. I've told this before, but that was back when I had hardly any subscribers. So once, while I was still at work, I was at a professional conference in Edinburgh, and it wasn't in central Edinburgh. It was a bit out from the centre towards there's another station that isn't the central one. So it's sort of slightly off the beaten track. And during one of the lunch breaks, I walked down the street just to stretch my legs and noticed a second-hand bookshop, which is something that always interests me. And this was a kind you don't see so much anymore. A book exchange, the kind where you can buy a book and take it back for like store credit to half the value. Which, when there used to be lots of these, were a great place to find like genre fiction. But the window display had really faded. It was full of books, science fiction, all sorts of things, but really badly faded through sun and time, and there might have been some dead flies and things like that. None of that would deter me, per se. But it was also clear that amongst the stock, there would be, let us say, adult material. And again, this is a thing where the front of the shop would have normal books, and then through some kind of doorway where the man would sit, sort of policing it, through this doorway you'd get the salacious material, which was probably where they made most of their money. So, okay. What do I do? It's like the moral maze. So here I am, surrounded by my professional peers from a decades-long career in the sort of work I did, people going back and forth. There's this shop, obviously looks dodgy, but it also looks like it has vintage paperbacks. Forget the adult stuff and care about that nonsense. Maybe it's got some westerns or some SF or whatever. Do I go in, jeopardise my sort of professional image, but potentially get some really interesting books? Well, reader, I went in. And I did get some books, actually, a series of westerns called Spectros about a sorcerer in the Old West. So that was great. So I suppose there's two sorts of people in the world. There's people who would find that shop appealing to the point, despite all of its moral grey areas and embarrassment of going in. People could have thought, God almighty, that guy must be so addicted to pornography that even in his lunch break he has to go and get some. So you could risk that misunderstanding in the pursuit of trashy books. So there are people who would do that anyway, and there's people who just wouldn't, who probably would never be seen dead in a shop like that. Perhaps you are one of those people. Perhaps you are one of the people who thinks this Garbaugust thing sounds kind of interesting, but you know, I'm not going to go and buy those kind of books, even if I knew where to get them. Not like me, who's got thousands of them in tottering piles everywhere. So that's why, in the spirit of Don't Panic, I'm going to make up a few care parcels for people who want to be sent some random trashy books of my choice. There'll be 4, enough to do each of the weeks, and probably a handful of bingo card prompts as well. And there'll be 2 or 3 of these packs. I don't want money, I don't want the postage. It's like a pay it forward thing. Just give 50p to a passing tramp or something, you know. It's my contribution to the world of reading things. Obviously, I'm hoping, not requiring, but hoping you will actually read the books, and ideally you'll be talking about them on your own channel or in a comment or whatever. So, yeah. No need to find that shop in Edinburgh. It's care parcels from Roy Reads Anything. So you can find my email address on here if you want to do that. Oh, no money. It's covered by the international brother and sisterhood of trashy literature. Okay, I think that's everything. Garbaugust, 4th one. Hope you can join in on some level, and there'll be some fun videos to watch. Check out all the channels that are linked to, and I'll be back soon with something else.